Science is a tool that lets you see, for any given article, you can look and see who has cited it. And so one of the main reasons this comes up in the library is someone who's coming up for tenure, and they say, I need to show that my articles have been influential. Can you help me find out what other people have cited my articles, or how many times they've been cited? I can put this in my tenure dossier, and it will show that my research is being used and having an influence in my field. That's the main way that we get this question, and the main reason at the library that we use Web of Science. I'd like to mention that it's not just for science. There are actually 3 different citation indexes within Web of Science. There's a Science Citation Index, Social Science Citation Index, and an Arts and Humanities Citation Index. The way that we get to that is on the library homepage. I'm going to go ahead and log in. 4x4. And this handout does not really give you step-by-step instructions for how to do the cited reference searching, but it does show you, once you get to Web of Science, which things that you need to click on that page. So to get to it, under Resources, under Databases, click on the letter W for Web of Science. There are 2 here, Web of Knowledge and Web of Science. I believe they go to the same place. Web of Science is part of Web of Knowledge. They do that just to confuse us. Okay, so this is the page. You've got a little picture of it on your handout. 2 places to click before we can do cited reference searching. First, we hit Web of Science, and then we want the part of Web of Science that does cited reference searching. This is a special kind of database. I mean, we have so many library databases where you can look up articles and look up things about articles, but this is really the only database where you can systematically look up who has cited an article. So it's really quite unique. It's also it's one of the more expensive ones, but they are doing a real service for us because this is something you can't get easily anywhere else. Give you a handout. Okay. The cited reference search is very picky. So the way you put a name in is they tell you under here, you put the last name and then the asterisk, and they mean it. If you start putting in, first name, last name, or you put in last name and you spell out the entire first name, you're not going to get very many results. So they tell you how to do it that way. I'm going to search for Dr. Burt. I just talked about it. He's a retired professor from aerospace and mechanical engineering. I often use him as my search because I know he's written hundreds of articles over the course of his career, and I can always find something that will be useful. So I'm putting Burt CW. It's not, you don't put Burt comma CW. If I didn't know his middle initial, I could do C asterisk. That would work too. But since I happen to know the middle initial, I'm going to use it. Now, down here are the different settings you can use to refine your search. I've won all years. I don't know exactly how long Dr. Burt has been writing, but probably 50 or 60 years. This one is kind of important. Which database do I want? I mentioned if you're, there's one for the sciences, one for social sciences, one for arts and humanities. Well, Professor Burt is from mechanical engineering, so I want the Science Citation Index. Those are the 2 things, the 2 settings that I use the most. And let's just go ahead and see what we get. So I've got Dr. Burt's name, and I said I want the sciences, not social sciences and humanities. Okay, and I come up with 619 papers. Well, these results, the 619 are 619 papers authored by Dr. Burt. This doesn't tell us anything yet about who cited him. But you see this column over here, citing articles. So this first paper on the list has been cited 4 times. This one's been cited 22 times. He's got some very impressive ones. He's got one here that was cited 444 times. That's pretty impressive. When was that written? 1990? And that was 1996. He's been writing since, I bet some of his papers from the 60s might have been cited more than 1,000 times. Okay. Another thing to notice, some of these articles say view record, and some do not. Well, why would that be? That's because Web of Science, although it's very good, I am impressed with it as a database, but it is not totally complete. So there are journals in engineering that aren't in here. There's every field. It strives to cover the majority of every field, but it's not exhaustive. So there are going to be some journals that aren't covered in here. Well, it's kind of weird though, because how did these records even get in here if the database doesn't index them? The way they get in here is some other journal at some point must have referenced this one. So even though this one that has 444 citations isn't even part of Web of Science, some other articles, well, 444 articles that are part of Web of Science referenced it, and so then those get counted. They get counted as citations, even though the article itself is not part of Web of Science. It's a little confusing, but does that make sense, or is that totally? Okay. So they're counting, they're counting references for all references, whether or not it's a journal that they index. That makes sense. Okay. Well, one of the things I can do here, I can select everything. So I want to select not just this page, all 619. You can see how many times Dr. Burt has been cited over the course of his career. So I'm going to select all. Did it do it? Okay, so now everything's checked. And I'm going to just say finish the search. This is the part, when you finish the search, this is where it comes up with the citations, list of other papers that have cited his. You see with some of them, some of them have been cited 400 times themselves. Okay, we have 2,300. So he's been cited 2,300 times in his career, or at least this 619 articles have been. So what can we do with this? It's pretty cool. One of all right, let's look at the results. Well, let's analyze the results. So there are two little knobbies here, analyze the results and create citation report. Both of them, I think, are pretty nifty. Probably because I'm a librarian, I get excited about stuff like this. But gives us different ways to look at this. For instance, if we want to see what other authors cite him the most, we can analyze it by authors. And I don't know, let's show the top 100 results. Just hit analyze. And look at that. What's this tell us? The very first one there?
He cited himself.
He cited himself 157 times. Not too surprising, I guess. And then after that, someone named Laura cited him next, and Kim Liu. Okay, lots of different names. So this is one way to track, people who are doing the same kinds of work. The people who cite each other the most are probably doing work that is most closely related. So if you're following Dr. Burt's work, this might be something you want to do, to see who else should I be reading and looking at besides him. I'm going to change this. I think it's interesting to look at things like countries, right? So authors are all the authors who cite Dr. Burt, are they mainly in the United States, or are they also from other countries? His work had influence outside of the United States. That can be another useful thing if you're someone coming up for tenure, and you can say, I have shown international influence because this 5% of my citations are in other countries. I'm having an effect on research going on in other places. So let's analyze Dr. Burt's work by countries and territories. Let's see what we get. And you can see that. I think this one's kind of interesting because USA is at the top, and that's not surprising, but look at that. It's only 30% of his citations are from the United States, so meaning 70% of them are from other countries, most notably India, China, and then kind of dropping off a bit from there. And look at, just the variety of different countries. He's been, I guess with 2,000 some citations, that's probably normal. But I think it can be useful information, especially if you're coming up for tenure. Another way that I like to look at sometimes is languages. So are the other authors citing him, are they writing in English or are they writing in other languages? Usually English is at the top for this one. Oh my goodness, look at that, 99.655 is in English. So even though his work is being cited in many other countries, those are still authors writing in English. And that's probably the norm in mechanical engineering. Institutions is one other interesting way to look sometimes. If you want to see where are other researchers doing similar work, like not who are the people who are doing it, but where are the other centers of similar research. See, Indian Institute of Technology is high up there, and then University of Oklahoma. And that's not surprising at all. Often, people in the same, you're going to, your own institution will usually rise to the top of that list. So this one in China and a couple in India, or other, other related places. Okay, I'm going to stop playing with that, even though I like playing with that. And I'm going to go back to the previous page. And the citation report does kind of a similar analysis, and it gives us some little bar charts to go with it. So this is telling us, for this whole body of Dr. Burt's 619 articles, how his citations fall out by year. And you can see, throughout his, well, it gives us the last 20 years. The number of citations is just going up and up and up, and 2000 hit the peak. And the publications per year shows how many different, not how many publications he did each year, but how many publications cited him each year since he began writing. Go back again. And okay. So we were looking at the entire body of his work, but there are also times when you just want to know what was the influence of this one paper or a group of papers. And so I'm going to, I think I can unselect everything. Clear, sorry. Okay, so I'm unselecting everything, and we'll just choose one paper. Maybe we'll choose one of these heavily cited papers and just look at that. So I'm just clicking one and going to finish and see for just this one paper how what the citation landscape looks like. And one of the other ways I like to analyze is by subject areas. So, if he's publishing, say, mechanical engineering, who are the people who are citing him also working in mechanical engineering, or are they, working in different fields? For this one paper, now look at that, 25% of the citations are in mathematics. Possibly interesting for different purposes. I'm going to go back. I want to show you the citation maps, and very pretty. So I'm going back to this list of his 619 papers, and I'm just going to look at one of them. I guess we'll look at something that's been cited quite a few times. When I go to view record, this is taking me to the record for this paper. It's not taking me to what the papers that have cited it. View this record is viewing this paper. I want to point out, you can go both backward and forward in time, looking at not only who cited Dr. Burt, but also who Dr. Burt cited in writing his paper. So this paper has been cited 48 times, and he himself cited 49 other papers when he wrote it. So we can create a map that kind of shows things going both directions. And there's a citation map tool right here. Let's go both forward and backward. And you can go one generation or two generations. And so if you go two generations back, it kind of looks like fireworks where things branch off. And that one can take a little bit longer. I think for now I'm going to stick with one generation. Also, it gets impossible to read. There's so much on the screen. Let's look at one generation. Okay. When you have a lot of citations like this, like I'm glad this isn't one with 400 because then you really can't see them all on the screen. But you can move this around with your mouse and clicker, and so pull it up so you can see this side better. If you hover over any of these names, it tells you, gives you a little brief record for that paper. I'm going to recenter it. The little tools up here for navigating. I want to recenter it on Dr. Burt. And what do all these colors mean? Well, I think this is the really kind of handy interactive feature of this map, is that you can But you can color code any way that you like. So, well, any way that's available. Under appearance, let's color code by, I think I want to color code by subject. And that means, let's see, he's green. And let's see, he is green, and the subject, this paper of his, the subject category is mechanics. Okay, so they've assigned this light green, it means mechanics. So all these papers that he cites that are, oops, all the green papers are other papers in mechanics that cite him. Over here, it's all the papers in mechanics that he cited in writing his paper. I want to reorganize this so all the greens are together, so I'm going to also order it by subject category. So it's both color-coded by subject and ordered by subject. Okay, so now I can see, to me this is more visually comprehensible. So it's kind of interesting, right? Even though he's writing mechanics, there aren't that many papers over here that are citing him that are also mechanics. So he's more influential here. Let's see, blue, it looks like it's engineering, so there's some blue. There is, let's see what pink is. Engineering and computer science is pink. Yellow, material science. Mechanics, acoustics, and engineering. Mechanics and engineering. Mechanics, mathematics, and engineering. So they're related fields. But if analyzing the subject is what you're interested in, this is a nice way to see it quickly. Let's look at it a different way. Let's see. Let's color code by country. And I'm also going to order it by country. I like to have my colors lined up. So he's United States, and so blue is United States. But look at all these red ones over here. He's this one's not. It's interesting. A lot of these are not telling me the country. But it looks like yellow is Japan. Sorry, yellow is Japan, so a bunch of the ones that he cited were from Japan. And what are these green ones? Okay, green is India. So lots and lots of researchers in India are citing him. I like how, to me, I'm a kind of a visual person, and this helps me get a feel for the research, kind of the landscape of it pretty quickly, thinking in color that way. The other nice thing you can do with this is you can, it gives a list of the citations down here. So if there's another one you want to look at, I need some more than this. I'm going to show you 10 at a time. I need to skip on your look at one of these that's from Japan. We click one of these and unclick afterward. So I click this one of the papers is from Japan, and once I've selected one, I can do a whole new map, and it will center this map on the one that I selected. So you can see going from this, you can flow through time, either flow forward or flow backwards, and tracing an idea through different authors. So here's the paper from Japan, and we should be able to see. Here's Dr. Burt, who cited this person, and this person cited all these other people. And you can, keep going like that in an iterative process. Let's see what else I want to show.
How long has this database been around? I mean, this web of knowledge thing?
Well, we've had it, I think, about 12 years. The mapping feature is pretty new, the last 2 or 3 years.
Would have been nice. When I was working on my dissertation.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Let me see if I'm missing anything I wanted. Oh, there's my notes. And it works exactly, this is the sciences, it works exactly the same way in the social sciences and arts and humanities. And you can search all of them at once. The reason not to, is often that the same names will pop up. They'll be similar names, but they'll be working in completely different fields. So you end up with a bunch of records that are not relevant to you. Let me close out of this one. I want to show you. I want to get back to that kind of long list. When we pulled up the 619 papers by C.W. Burt, for instance, I want to point out that Web of Science is not perfect. It will often have duplicates. And let me see if I see any duplicates here. I'm looking at these two. These two might be duplicates. You see AIAA Journal, 1998, 1988. Both of them are possibly the same, but one quotes him on page 612 and one quotes him on page 235. So possibly he had two different articles in that same issue of the journal. That can happen. Or it could be that one of the citations was wrong, because that happens. People publish their lists of references and get page numbers wrong. Let me see if there's another one that's a little more obvious. But especially like, you see one and it's two page numbers, but they're almost the same. Well, these here are clearly different, even though it's the same journal of Composite Materials. This is published 83, 73, 68. So you can pretty much assume those are different articles in the same journal. I don't happen to see any that seem like they're not him, but it's possible that there could be another C.W. Burt in the Science Citation Index. And especially like if I came up with something that said it was about medicine, it was about heart valves or something like that. I could kind of guess that, based on all of his other work, I could probably exclude that one. And so it's not perfect. There can be duplication, and there can also be names in here that are, not the person you're looking for. And sometimes you do have to go through, if it's very important to you to get a complete and accurate count, you might have to go through all the pages of this and eliminate the ones that are the wrong person or that you suspect are the wrong person. Luckily, most of these are good, but also if I had not known his middle initial, if I just put in Burt C, there's probably a lot of Burt C's in the index. Having the middle initial can really help. What questions do you guys have? Yeah?
So you said this was used a lot by faculty as a means of justifying tenure?
Well, it's just, not to justify tenure, but to support, when they're saying, here's the research I've done, and here's how influential it's been based on people who have cited it. Yes.
What are some other common uses you see of it? Is that mainly?
Well, that's mainly what we get at the reference desk, because people don't know how to use that. But there are people who do research in kind of interdisciplinarity. They're trying to see, okay, over time are people who are publishing in, say, physics, are they just citing other physics people? Are they citing medicine? Are they citing, and so people who are kind of tracking the evolution of the disciplines will use it for that. It's
research of research?
Yes, exactly.
It's interesting.
Yeah, and this would really be the only way to do that.
Do most other large institutional libraries have something like this?
Yes. Yes, most large research libraries subscribe to this, and when you say something like this, it's this, because this is pretty much the only product that does it. And like I said, it's not complete. It does not have every single journal.
Sure.
And it has some duplication, and it will retrieve records that aren't the right person that you're looking for. It does a pretty good job. The other product that will do it is Google Scholar will give you, it doesn't do anything nearly this, not nearly with this many features, but it does give you a rough citation count. And what I found is that Web of Science citations can be low because they don't capture everything. But Google Scholar citations can be too high because they end up counting the same thing sometimes over and over and over again. So you can find some, if you think that, you look something up and you think, I know I've been cited more than 4 times, You can find more of them on Google Scholar, because there are things that aren't covered here, but if, you know, if this says 4, you can cite it 4 times, Google Scholar says you can cite it 67 times, I would say the correct answer is probably, I don't know, 7, 8, 10, it's not 60.
Yeah.
So I think Web of Science is probably closer. Other questions? Did you like it? Is it cool?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't know it existed.
Didn't
Yeah.
have the faintest idea it existed.
And like I said, the handout is definitely does not give you like every step by step for how to do this. And it's, you know, it's a complicated database. Do not hesitate. If you want to use this, don't hesitate to contact me. My contact information is on the bottom of the page. And I wouldn't say that I'm an expert on this database, but I've used it for certain things a bunch. And if there's something you want to do with it that I don't know how to do, I'll know how to find out. So, okay. Are we out of time? Are you good? Or there's one other thing I can show, but it's, I don't know. No, I think we are out of time actually.
Yeah, I think our next is.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.